I'm your host, Marsha Florence, for Just Ask Podcast Live. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. Hope all is well with everyone because you know what? It's getting to that fall season. Children back in school. Vacation should be over. And now it's time to get down to real business, real work, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, I always like to bring back very, very helpful, supportive resources that you can use. And a lot of you are saying, oh, okay, COVID has somewhat subsided. Now the real deal is going on. The bills are due. I might lose my home. My taxes are sky high. Just a whole host of things that go on as the system seems to try to revamp itself, okay? So I wanted to bring back a returning guest. This lady always brings us a wealth of information that you can use. I know you can use it because I always have her back. That's why, all right? And we want to make sure that you get this resource today. And if you have questions, you can always just go ahead and, email or call me and say, hey, Marsha, I missed the today's guest, Ruth Johnson, and I need to be able to speak to her or get some resources again. So I don't want to waste too much of my interview. I want to go ahead and introduce you to none other than Ruth Johnson, Public Policy Director of CDAD, which is better known as Community Development Advocates of Detroit. Hey, Ruth Johnson.
Hi, Marsha. Thanks for inviting me back.
Ruth, it is always a pleasure to have you back. I mean, I don't know how many times I've had you, but I always, glad to see you each time. How about that?
Same here.
Good. Now, Ruth, you know what? A lot of people may not know what is CDAD, and even though I ran it off right quick, can you just jump in there and tell people what is CDAD?
Yes, briefly. CDAD is a nonprofit, nonpartisan, member-oriented organization based in the city of Detroit. We actually have our offices in Techtown building in Midtown Detroit. We've been around for over 20 years, and we have over 200 members in every Detroit City Council district. They range from block clubs, neighborhood associations, community development organizations, community development finance institutions, and just individuals who care about the city of Detroit. We work to build the capacity and power of our members who do so many important things in the city, from building and renting affordable housing for families, seniors, veterans, to providing the important services just to make Detroit a great or better place to live, work, do business. So we're thrilled with what our members are doing, and we just want to help them keep doing what they're doing.
You know what, Ruth? You guys are almost a secret to us, though. Okay, you're really almost like a secret. So that's one reason I'm like I had to have you come back because, when you come and you tell the viewers about some issues that are always on the table, such as housing and moratoriums and what do you do after the fact, advocacy and counseling. Most people don't know that. They're so fearful of losing their properties and stuff that they just pray. I'm gonna be honest with you. People just pray, okay? But we're beyond praying now. We need some resources. So that's where we at with, having you come to join us and tell us what's going on, because Detroit is catching it right about now, and people everywhere are. Okay.
You're so right. Continue praying, but also take action. And and as your title of your show, just ask. If people need help, or somebody needs help, I want to provide some resources and some information that people can use right now. Because I know people are in financial hardships with gas prices going up, housing prices going up, food prices going up, just the stress and strain of just living in this time. Just want to provide some resources. If I may, I would like to let homeowners know that they can get information about the Michigan Homeowner Assistance Fund. That is through the state of Michigan, and they can go to michigan.gov/MSHDA, which is MSHDA. That stands for the Michigan State Housing and Development Agency. So they're the state agency that's responsible for administering this program using American Rescue Plan Act monies from the federal government to help homeowners. Because we know some people, it's tough to make that mortgage.
You got to give us that again, Ruth, because we probably have to post it up a little later in the show. But a lot of people don't know that. So what's that website again?
So this is to get information and to apply for the Michigan Homeowners Assistance Fund. You may hear it called MIHAF, MIHAF, but really the main thing is to go to michigan.gov/MSHDA.
Okay. Now I haven't heard of that one. I'm really. Some things I haven't come across yet. Okay, so let me ask you this. So when they contact that agency, say like they're getting ready to get evicted, is that a helpful resource for them to look into for eviction?
So the MIHAF is for property owners, homeowners.
Okay.
But if you are a landlord or a tenant, there is help available in those situations. First of all, although the city of Detroit's, it's called CERA, the COVID emergency relief application, they're no longer taking applications, but the good news is Wayne County is. So if you're a Detroit resident or you live elsewhere in Wayne County and you have not previously filed an application for rental relief or legal assistance, you can go to the Wayne County website and get information and apply. I also have a phone number if that's helpful too.
And you know it is, so let's get that phone number.
Okay, so it's www.waynecounty.com, that infamous /rental assistance. Or people can call 313, I'm sorry, let me start over. The phone number is 833-742-1513. And that's available Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
Okay. We'll get all that information from you, Ruth, because somebody's at home saying, oh, I need to write that down. And you do, ladies and gentlemen, you need to write that down. You need to write that down.
I will get it to you because I know, when you hear a phone number and hours and websites, it's hard to keep up with everything. And that's why I'm here trying to share information that I know, whatever way I can.
So what is this? The city of Detroit has passed a right to counsel ordinance. What is that?
I am so glad you asked, because that is another resource, an important resource, a right to counsel ordinance for the city of Detroit. What that means is that low-income Detroiters facing eviction will have a legal representation, an attorney. That law goes into effect October 1st.
Wow.
So starting October 1st, if you find yourself in a situation where they put that thing on your door and you're all embarrassed, stop being embarrassed.
Right.
And know that you have a right to counsel. But it's more than just a right to counsel. It's also looking at how we can do eviction diversion. There may be some ways to negotiate and work out some solutions for both the landlord and the tenant. It's also seeing if the property, the housing unit that's being rented isn't up to code, what can be done to inspect it and get things fixed. But also what the right to counsel ordinance does, it provides transparency, accountability, because data on evictions and what happens to people after eviction will become available. There'll be an annual meeting, an annual report. We know it's bad, but we don't really have good numbers on how bad it is.
Wow. And I'm hoping people do respond. Really, I hope people. It's so many people that are so nervous and upset about. We already went through this 2-year setback of what we were accustomed to, and now, as we try to readjust our lives, we're running into obstacles or more disappointments about resources that we should have known about quite some time ago and didn't. And now, people are like, where do I go and what do I do? And I wanted to ask you something. Ruth, I have this thing about diversity. I believe that, any information and resources that are available should be available in all languages if possible, so that any person who is living, breathing should know where to get their help from. And some people don't. Do your materials also come in various languages, for our Hispanic community or our Muslim community or anything? Because a lot of people get turned around, or do they need to have an interpreter with them when they approach these programs?
So it really depends. As far as CDAD, we strive to work with partners and provide language and linguistic and literacy diversity, just because sometimes people are talking in your same language, but they're talking over your head, all those big words. You're like, I don't know what this woman's saying. So it's all of that. I would give an example. CDAD is part of the Detroit Right to Counsel Coalition, and we had a virtual summit, and we had it translated into Spanish and Arabic, and we had a sign language interpreter.
Great.
As well as the city of Detroit and Wayne County, the state of Michigan, many of their materials are available in multiple languages. You have to know that it's there and where to find it. So sometimes things are available, as you said, but people don't know it.
Yep.
But we have some great elected officials and public officials who are really fighting for the public to have that diversity in language and literacy, but also digital inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
If a lot of these application forms are online and you don't have internet, or you got to sit outside of a fast food restaurant in the middle of the night to pick up their internet, that's a different situation in terms of availability of these services and programs.
Wow. So I hear you guys are having a community development week. What is CDAD doing? I need to be there. So what's that all about?
Yes, this is exciting. This will be our 16th year. CDAD's been around for over 20 years, but this is our 16th year of our Community Development Week. It's a week-long conference celebrating, honoring, highlighting, and learning about the great community development people, projects, policies, practices in our great city. So from September 19th through September 24th, we will be offering a series of seminars, workshops, receptions, lots of different things for your viewers. And the great news, it's free. I mean, really free. Not that fake free, the real free. So all people would need to do is go to our website, www.cdad-online.org, O-R-G. Get more information. Now, again, I'm the public policy director, so I'm most attuned to the 4 sessions that deal with public policy, but I recommend people to enjoy all of the offerings. So we're going to be talking about zoning as a tool for equity. We're going to be talking about the need for the city of Detroit to update their master plan on a citywide comprehensive basis. Mm-hmm. We're going to be talking about the Community Reinvestment Act, and I'm sure for Marcia, you're going, what's the Community Reinvestment Act?
I'm going to ask you.
I saw it in your face. That is a federal law that was enacted to combat redlining. Redlining was where banks and other lenders would lend money to people who lived in this neighborhood, but not in this neighborhood. And the 2 neighborhoods would actually be divided with a red line on a map.
I think that still exists. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but it does in the insurance game. You live one place and your car insurance is, you go across the street, it might just be, lower, but you're like, I just moved a block and a half away and I'm in another city. Okay. So I believe redlining does exist. I approached my insurance agent one time about that with my car, and he says, what do you know about that? I said, I understand it, So I
think all of us have a sense, whether we know the law or not, we know our reality, we know truth. And you can even drive around Detroit, and even if you don't know where the line is, you can still see the remnants. And in actuality, it is still harder to get mortgages and small business loans and home equity loans and things like that. But you know what? We have the law on our side, that banks doing business in the Metro Detroit market must do certain things to serve low and moderate income communities. But it's our job to make sure the law is enforced and followed. Just because there's a law doesn't mean it's automatically gonna happen. And that's why you need advocates like me. But I feel everyone was born an advocate. Think about a baby. A baby's advocate for food and diaper changes. So this is what we do. Thanks for laughing. But seriously, we're all born with power. We're all born as advocates, but then we, through the course of life, we get busy, or we don't think, well, no one will listen, but it's working together. And that's what CDAD does, is gather people together so we can fight for what's right. But there's a fourth policy session as part of Community Development Week, and it goes back to what I talked about before, making sure people understand Detroit right to counsel ordinance. We're the first in Michigan to have a right to counsel ordinance, and the 14th state or city to have it. Mm-hmm. So it's a movement.
Let me
it's a movement to make sure that if you're going to possibly lose your housing, which is one of the most important things to you, you have an attorney by your side.
So let me ask you, Ruth, I have a slide here, and you can let me know if this information is still correct. So
yes.
Is this the one we're talking about?
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, because our viewers, if they're on the edge of their seat listening, they're like, wow, I really need to hear or get that phone number or something. So they can go to facebook.com/DetroitRTC. Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's a good one. Is that now? You did give out a number earlier, right? You have a phone number for them too, or should people just direct their questions?
The best way is to reach out through Facebook. You can do a direct message. We have lots of information and ways of getting involved, but this would be the best way for people because we're some busy people. We don't have a phone number just for our coalition.
No problem. But you know what? I'm holding it up there for a few minutes because I know somebody's probably trying to, jot down that email address, that web address, as well as they're probably reading the chart. But it has some very, cut and dry information on there. Detroit facing eviction deserve legal representation. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, which I know you are, take heed to that website down there, facebook.com/DetroitRTC. You don't know what you're eligible for until you try. At least this way you could put your question in and see if somebody will respond and, take it from there. Don't sit in a puddle of tears and don't have a direction to go in. And you have legal rights, and this is important that we utilize our legal rights. So I just wanted to say that because, a lot of people they're just like, I don't know. Well, you don't know until you just ask. All right. So yes. We got to get that clear, and I'm glad Ruth, we keep a lot of our information here. So I'm glad that piece in particular, Detroit Right to Counsel, was still on our profile sheet for you. And this is your information, so you can let me know if someone has a question. Can they utilize that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Ruth, because somebody want to just talk to you directly, they should be able to email you and get a question answered. Okay.
I can direct them. If I can't help them, I'll make sure I direct them to, if I know of a resource that can help them. And that's part of what I do is connecting people to resources, connecting people to ways in which they can use their God-given power and advocacy ability because, there's power in numbers. So let's work together.
Most definitely. And, so a lot of the organizations that you work with, are they considered organizations or what are they considered when you
Yes. Okay. There are various community groups and neighborhood associations. Some are 501c3s, some aren't. There are a bunch of neighbors who formed a block club. They don't have a bank account. They're not fancy, but they do important work just for a block or two. But if you have on a street a block captain for every block, then you get all the block captains together and you can share more information with your neighbors and hear from your neighbors. Because not everybody has the luxury and the privilege I have of sitting through a 3-hour Detroit City Council committee meeting. It started at 10 and it went till 1 o'clock. I'm paid to do this.
Yeah.
You know what? You don't have to be a public policy director. All you have to be is you being informed, willing to talk, ask a few questions, and share information.
Oh, yeah. And my thing is, I know we talked about it before quite some time ago about seniors living in their home, and they've been in that home for over 40 or 50 years, and they still have to fill out the long form for, exemption programs and stuff like that. I'm hoping that, shows like this, Ruth, will shed light to people to know that we need to, protest, say something, give us a short form. If a person has been living in a home for over 30 years, and especially if they're of an elderly nature, this filling out this long drawn out piece of paper or forms to be eligible for exemption, it's crazy. It's outdated. It's just
I got some good news on that. I am so glad you raised that, Marcia.
Okay.
So with the Detroit assessor, through a change in state law, if you have been eligible for a property tax exemption in Detroit during a certain period of time and you want to apply for next year, you don't have to fill out the long form. There's a short form because whatever you said before, all you have to say is nothing's changed. But I have even better news, Marcia, for you and your viewers. Representative Karen Winsett, she's from District 3 over on the west side of Detroit. She and some other Metro Detroit legislators have introduced a bill that would provide property tax exemption for certain senior citizens for their principal residence. Again, they'd have to fill out a form the first time, but that is some good news that our public officials hear us, understand our needs, and are designing legislation to address those needs.
That's great. Let me see if we have that information up here on our screen. Would this happen to be the number?
Yes. Yes.
Is it my lucky day, ladies and gentlemen, that I have these notes on my screen for you? Okay.
Thank you for that.
Detroit City Assessor, 313-224-3034. And now they can actually call that number and inquire about the homeowner exemption program.
Yes.
Okay.
And again, that office is again open Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
Correct. Okay. Want to leave that up there for a minute or two before we wrap up. Now, see, just so happened, Ruth, you know, our topic of today was everything that we kept, on file here, and we're grateful for it because, you know, people are sitting there listening and they're saying, well, wow, where's a phone number? Where's something I can write down? And today, ladies and gentlemen, bam, as they say, there it go. Okay, so that's great. I mean, you know, because I was concerned about that long form. I'm like, that's enough to drive anybody crazy trying to fill out a long form to see if you're eligible for exemption, and then you find out you're not, or better yet, you got to do it every year. That's a little over the top. It's a little bit over the top, you know, just keep on filling out that same form over and over like that. But thank you for that great news. Yeah, that was very helpful. So, Ruth, I'm going to just run through this again. I want to make sure people see your web address if they need to call or have questions. And definitely look into some services that CDAD provides, you know, the resources that you guys provide. And I think that's very, very helpful and supportive. And I'm always grateful for you being here. So, and then I'm going to go back to the Detroit Right to Counsel. I want to make sure people have that, so that they don't miss that opportunity to contact Rights to Counsel. Because I've gotten calls, Ruth, from people asking about resources for eviction and everything, and we always give out this information, but we don't have a follow-up to find out what actually happened. When a person calls, they're panicking. You know, they're in devastation, so we try to get to them and give them what they need, and then we don't hear from them again. And that's okay. That's okay, but we do want to make sure that we do something for them. Okay, and City of Detroit Assessor information. So remember, Ruth said that office is open from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And if I was you, ladies and gentlemen, I'd be up at 7:45 waiting to get the first call in and have my number on speed dial. As soon as 8:35 roll around, I wouldn't be waiting till 2 or 3 in the afternoon. You may not be lucky that day. I don't know, but I'd rather you do it early than do it late. And then, Ruth, your information itself is here. And thank you so much for being available to us. We really, truly do appreciate it. And so, with that being said, let me come back to you directly.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides at aarp.org/caregiving.
Okay, anything you want to tell us, Ruth, before we wrap up? Because you know what? I hate to cut this short because you always got some good, juicy stuff. Okay, anything else in the pipeline that we need to know about, or come back to see you again soon with?
Well, I always will have some juicy stuff, helpful stuff, but I think my message, my closing message is just ask, but with the asterisk, be persistent and keep asking till you get what you need. Because sometimes you ask one time, they don't answer the phone, you leave a message, they don't return your call. I would just ask your viewers, keep asking, keep asking, keep asking.
Yep. Yeah, people have to stop being afraid to ask. That's the key. A lot of people are just so afraid to ask questions that they don't ask, and it's like, then somebody say, I should have asked that. I should have, and it's old now. But this way, at least if they ask, they have a chance to collect the proper data and get the resources that they need so they can at least get started. I just want people to get started. Don't
Yes.
sleep on it and think that it's in the morning when you wake up it's going to go away, because it doesn't. All right? Okay. Well, Ruth, would you come back and join us again?
I would love to. Thank you, Marcia.
Please tell all the members over at CDAD we said hello and we appreciate you. And I'm going to keep that date in mind, too. So what's that date again of the Community Development Week?
It's a whole week. So it's September 19th through 24th. So we have morning, afternoon, and a few evening things. They're both virtual, in-person, and hybrid.
Okay. Well, I'm going to definitely have to, make my presence over that way. Okay,
and
so
it's
hold
free.
on.
Free.
And it's free. All right.
Free.
All day long. Okay. All right. How about parking and all that? Is it ample parking? Is it wheelchair accessible?
It depends on the location.
Okay.
So there's a little reception on Wednesday at the Detroit Shipping Company building on Petersboro, and it's just street parking. If it's at Tech Town, there's a open lot on Burroughs between Woodward and Cass.
All right. Hold for me for a second, Ruth, and I'll be right back. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know who I am, Marcia Florence for Just Ask Talk Show, and I thank Ruth Johnson from CDAD to come and see us, because she's always giving us some resources. So keep in mind that information that you saw on the screen. If you lose it or didn't get it, go ahead and give us a call, 1-800-323-5336, or drop me a line, Marcia at Just Ask Talk Show, and we'll get that information back over to you. I'm your host, Marcia Florence for Just Ask, and what do I always say? If you know a person with a disability, or if you just have a general question, don't be afraid to ask. Just ask. I'm your host. See you next time.